Today we're discussing elite theory, focusing on three key thinkers: Pareto, Mosca, and Robert Michels. Let's start with Pareto. He believed that people are inherently unequal in nearly every domain, physically, mentally, and socially. There will always be strong and weak, smart and stupid, capable and clumsy. Because of this, inequality in society is both inevitable and natural. In every sphere, the most competent individuals rise to the top. They become the elite. According to Pareto, society resembles a pyramid. A small group of elites sits at the top, while the masses occupy the broader base. The structure is binary: elite versus non-elite, or elite versus masses. This framework holds true regardless of a society's political system or stage of development. Elites, he argued, always exist, even if people claim otherwise. Elites share certain traits: the ability to persuade, to manipulate, and when necessary to use force. If an elite group fails to convince or impose control, a new elite will replace it. A natural dynamic in which new talent emerges from masses, while older elites fade out. However, over time, elites often become closed and self-serving, promoting friends and family rather than outside people. They cling to power, silence opposition, and fill leadership roles based on loyalty rather than competence. When this happens, corruption and incompetence rise at the top, while ambitious and capable individuals are blocked from entry. Eventually, the ruling elite becomes so detached that it loses its grip, unable to persuade or enforce its rule. According to Pareto, this leads to revolution, which he defines as the forcible replacement of one elite by another. He also introduces two types of elites: lions and foxes. Lions favor strength, tradition, and authority. Foxes, on the other hand, are cunning, opportunistic, and rely on persuasion, manipulation, and deceit. Both types exist, but dominance by one can signal regimes, nature, and stability. Next, we turn to Mosca, who argues that society always divides into two classes: the rulers and the ruled. You don't need higher education to see this. The minority governs and the majority follows. Why? Because the minority is more organized and active, while the majority tends to be passive and fragmented. The ruling class typically includes bureaucrats, lawmakers, business moguls, bankers, clergy, and other power figures. Mosca pays special attention to religious leaders, noting that they often align with political elites, despite appearing spiritually neutral to the public. Mosca shares Pareto's belief that elites represent society's most capable individuals, those with education, wealth, courage, integrity, and leadership skills. But if the elite begins to focus only on self-preservation, neglecting broader governance, it becomes vulnerable to replacement by a more competent group. He describes two paths for elite renewal: democratic and aristocratic. In a democratic system, talented individuals can enter the elite regardless of their origin. In aristocratic system, the elite reproduces itself by promoting relatives, spouses, and friends, which Mosca sees as a dead-end path leading to decay. Like Pareto, he stresses the importance of elite renewal to avoid stagnation. Elites hold onto power through two core strategies: force or ideology. While both can work, Mosca believes ideology is more sustainable. Through a political formula, elites legitimize their power, convincing the masses that authority is moral or divinely sanctioned. These formulas vary across history. They can be supernatural, like power comes from God or the king is divinely chosen, or rational: we are elected representatives, we serve the nation or the people. Regardless of the style, the goal is the same: to create acceptance of elite rule. When asked what system works best, Mosca answers plainly: the one that allows competent individuals to enter the elite. The name of the regime, its construction, or lofty rhetoric doesn't matter. Openness and renewal are what count. Finally, Robert Michels introduces his famous iron law of oligarchy. Every organization, no matter how democratic, will eventually evolve into an oligarchy. He explains this with a simple example. A small political group starts with idealistic goals and collective decision-making, but as it grows, leaders naturally emerge because someone has to handle day-to-day tasks. Over time, these leaders consolidate power, prioritize their own interests, and form an inner circle. Decision-making becomes centralized, and rank-and-file members lose influence. Even in the most democratic movements, power ends up concentrated in the hands of a few. And once there, those few will do everything they can to keep it for prestige, control, and material gain. The rest of the members are too disorganized to resist. Thus, oligarchy is not a flaw, it's a structural inevitability of social organization. The conclusion of elite theory is the democracy is largely an illusion. Behind the scenes, a well-organized minority always governs, regardless of what the majority believes. Speeches, promises, and voting may create appearances, but real power resides in the elite acting in its own interest. And this is Aivazovsky. I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.